Hello, everyone. My name is Peter. Today, I want to talk about something very simple, but I believe it can change the way you learn English. That is listening to English every day. For a long time, I thought learning English meant memorizing vocabulary. I bought books. I studied grammar. I wrote new words in a notebook. Sometimes I spent hours trying to remember difficult words. But when I met a foreigner and they started speaking English, I had a problem. I could understand some words, but I could not understand the whole sentence. They spoke too fast. The words seemed to connect together. And sometimes I knew every word in the sentence, but I still could not understand what they were saying. That was frustrating. Then I discovered something important. I needed to listen more, not just study more. I needed to hear English every single day. At first, I started with only 10 minutes a day. I listened to simple English conversations. I listened while having breakfast. I listened while walking. Sometimes I listened before going to bed. I did not try to understand every single word. I simply listened. And slowly, something began to change. English started to sound more familiar. The voices became easier to understand. The pronunciation became clearer. And I began to recognize common expressions without thinking too much. That was the first benefit of listening to English every day. It trains your ears. When we learn a new language, our ears need training. Think about a baby. A baby does not learn a language by reading grammar books. A baby listens. The baby hears the same sounds again and again. The baby hears people talking. The baby hears questions. The baby hears answers. The baby hears greetings. The baby hears stories. After listening for a long time, the baby begins to understand. Learning English is similar. We need to give our brains enough English to listen to. The more we hear English, the more familiar it becomes. At first, English may sound like one long sentence. You may hear something like this: "How are you doing today?" Everything seems connected. But after listening many times, your brain begins to separate the sounds. You start hearing, "How are you doing today?" That is a very important moment. Your listening ability is improving. Another great benefit is better pronunciation. When you listen to English every day, you naturally hear how native speakers pronounce words. You hear the stress. You hear the rhythm. You hear the intonation. You hear which words are stronger. And you hear which words are softer. This is important because spoken English is different from written English. When we read English, every word looks clear. But when people speak, they do not always pronounce every word separately. They connect sounds together. They reduce some sounds. They speak naturally. For example, instead of saying, "I want to go to the store," a person may say it very quickly, "I want to go to the store." If you only study written English, this can be surprising. But if you listen every day, you gradually become familiar with it. You begin to understand natural English. And this makes real conversations much easier. There is another benefit. Listening can help you learn vocabulary naturally. Imagine that you learn the word decision. You may memorize its meaning. Decision means a choice that is useful. But if you hear the word many times in real sentences, you learn much more. You may hear, "I need to make a decision. It was a difficult decision." Have you made your decision yet? I think that was the right decision. Now the word is not just a word in your notebook. It becomes part of a real sentence. Your brain remembers the situation. It remembers the sound. It remembers the meaning. And it remembers how the word is used. This is much more powerful than simply memorizing a translation. That is why I love listening. It teaches vocabulary in context. And context makes words easier to remember. Listening also helps you improve your speaking. This may sound strange, you might think. Peter, listening and speaking are two different skills. Yes, they are different. But they are closely connected. When you listen to English often, you collect useful sentences in your mind. You hear how people express their ideas, you hear common phrases, you hear natural questions, you hear natural answers. Then when you want to speak, your brain already has some patterns. For example, you hear people say, "That sounds like a good idea." You hear it many times. Later, someone asks you what you think about a plan. You may naturally say, "That sounds like a good idea." You do not need to build the sentence word by word. You simply remember the pattern. This makes speaking faster. It also makes your English sound more natural. Another important benefit is confidence. When I first started learning English, I was afraid of conversations. I was always worried about making mistakes. I thought people would laugh at my pronunciation. I thought they would think my English was terrible, so I often stayed quiet, but listening changed that. The more English I heard, the more comfortable I became. English was no longer something strange. It became part of my daily life. I heard English in the morning. I heard English in the afternoon. I heard English in the evening. After some time, English felt normal. And when something feels normal, you become less afraid of it. That is why I believe listening can build confidence. You do not become confident overnight. You become confident through small experiences. One day you understand a sentence. The next day you understand a short conversation. A few weeks later you understand a video. Then one day you realize something amazing. You are listening to English. And you are not translating every word in your head. You are simply understanding. That feeling is wonderful. I still remember the first time I noticed it. I was listening to an English podcast while walking. Normally, I translated everything. But that day, I was thinking about something else. I was enjoying the walk. Suddenly, I realized that I had understood several minutes of English without translating. I stopped for a moment, and I smiled. I thought, wow. My brain is starting to understand English directly. That was a small moment. But it gave me a lot of motivation. Another benefit of daily listening is flexibility. You can listen almost anywhere. You do not need a classroom. You do not need expensive equipment. You do not need a special place. You can listen while cooking. You can listen while cleaning your room. You can listen while driving. You can listen while exercising. You can listen while walking. You can even listen for a few minutes while waiting for a bus. This makes listening one of the easiest English habits to build. You can turn empty time into learning time. Of course, I am not saying you should study English every minute of the day. You need rest. You need sleep. You need time with your family and friends. You need to enjoy your life. But if you can listen to English for 15 or 20 minutes every day, that can make a big difference over time. The important thing is consistency. 20 minutes every day is often better than 3 hours once a week. Why? Because your brain needs regular exposure. Imagine going to the gym. If you exercise once a month, you probably will not see much progress. But if you exercise regularly, your body becomes stronger. Listening works in a similar way. Your ears need regular practice. Your brain needs regular exposure. and your memory needs repetition. That is why I recommend creating a simple listening habit. Start small, maybe 10 minutes a day. Do not make it too difficult. Choose English that is slightly above your current level. If the material is too easy, you may become bored. If it is too difficult, you may become frustrated. You need something you can mostly understand. But there should still be a few new words and expressions. This gives your brain a challenge. At the beginning, you do not need to understand everything. This is very important. Do not stop every 5 seconds to look up a word. If you do that, listening can become tiring. Instead, try to understand the general meaning. Ask yourself, what is this person talking about? What happened? What does the speaker want? What is the main idea? These questions are often more important than understanding every single word. Sometimes you can understand a conversation even when you miss a few words. That is normal. Even native speakers do not understand every single word all the time. So do not expect yourself to be perfect. Your goal is progress, not perfection. Another technique I like is repeated listening. Choose a short audio clip, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Listen to it several times. The first time, just listen. Do not worry too much. The second time, try to understand the main idea. The third time, listen for important words. The fourth time, pay attention to pronunciation. You may be surprised by how much you understand after several repetitions. The first time, you may understand only 50%. The second time, maybe 60%. The third time, maybe 70%. After several days, you may understand almost everything. This is how your ears become stronger. You can also try shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and repeating it immediately. For example, the speaker says, I usually wake up at 7 in the morning. You repeat, I usually wake up at 7 in the morning. Try to copy the speaker's rhythm, copy the stress, copy the pronunciation, copy the emotion. You do not need to sound perfect. Just try to imitate the sound. This exercise can improve both listening and speaking. It can also help you speak with better rhythm. Another thing I learned is that listening should be enjoyable. If you hate what you are listening to, you will probably stop. So choose topics that you like. If you love travel, listen to travel stories. If you like sports, listen to sports conversations. If you enjoy movies, listen to movie discussions. If you like technology, listen to technology podcasts. If you love stories, listen to short stories in English. The best learning material is often the material you actually want to listen to. When you enjoy something, you do not feel like you are studying. You are simply enjoying content. And at the same time, your English is improving. That is a powerful combination. Listening every day can also improve your grammar. You may think grammar requires rules and exercises. Of course, grammar study is useful. But listening gives you another kind of grammar practice. You hear correct sentence patterns again and again. For example, I have been working here for 5 years. You hear this sentence many times. Eventually, the structure starts to feel familiar. You may not remember the grammar rule, but you know that the sentence sounds right. This is called developing a sense for the language. The more English you hear, the stronger this sense becomes. You begin to notice when something sounds natural and when something sounds strange. This is another reason why daily listening is so valuable. It gives your brain thousands of examples. You are constantly showing your brain how English works. There is also a psychological benefit. Listening to English every day can change the way you see yourself. At first, you may think, I am bad at English. I cannot understand native speakers. I will never speak English well. But after practicing every day, your thoughts can change. You begin to think, I am improving. I can understand more than before. I can recognize more words. I can follow conversations better. These small changes in your thinking are important. You stop seeing English as an impossible subject. You start seeing it as a skill, and skills can be developed. You do not need to be naturally talented. You need practice, you need patience, and you need consistency. So, if you are learning English right now, I want to give you one simple challenge. Listen to English every day for the next 30 days, just 15 minutes a day, that is all. Do not worry about perfection. Do not try to memorize everything, just listen. Listen to something you enjoy, listen carefully, listen repeatedly, and notice your progress. On the first day you may understand very little, that is okay. On the 7th day you may notice some familiar expressions. On the 15th day you may understand more of the speaker. On the 30th day, you may be surprised by how much has changed. Maybe the speaker sounds slower. Maybe you recognize words more quickly. Maybe you can understand sentences without translating. Maybe you feel more confident. These changes may seem small. But small improvements become big improvements when you repeat them every day. That is the secret. Do not wait for motivation. Build a habit. Do not wait until you have a lot of free time. Use the small moments you already have. Do not wait until your English is perfect. Start listening now. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to keep going. I believe English is not something we simply study. It is something we experience. We hear it, we repeat it, we use it, we make mistakes, we learn, and then we try again. Every time you listen, you are giving your brain another opportunity to learn. Every sentence you hear is another piece of English entering your mind. Every conversation you understand is proof that you are improving. So my friend, start today. Put on your headphones, choose a short English video. Play a podcast, listen to a story. Or simply find a conversation you enjoy, then listen, just listen. Tomorrow, listen again. And the next day, listen again. You may not notice the difference immediately, but your brain is working, your ears are learning. Your memory is becoming stronger. Your pronunciation is becoming more familiar. And your confidence is growing. One day you will listen to someone speaking English. They will speak naturally. They will connect their words. They will use expressions you have heard before. And suddenly you will understand. You will not translate. You will not panic. You will simply listen, and you will understand. That is the moment we are working toward. Not perfect English, not perfect pronunciation, not knowing every word. Just being able to listen and understand, that is real progress. And remember, you do not have to become fluent in one day. You only have to become a little better than yesterday, 10 minutes today, 15 minutes tomorrow, 20 minutes next week, step by step. Day by day, your English will grow, so keep listening, keep learning, keep going. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. I am Peter. Thank you for listening to my story. And I hope you will listen to English again tomorrow. See you next time. Keep your ears open, keep your mind curious, and keep English in your daily life.